Hey everybody, this is Mike Saltzman, and I'm starting my own YouTube channel. So those of you that know me before today are following me online on Twitter and Instagram at Can't Until. That Twitter handle and also Instagram handle came from my kind of mantra through this whole process is that you can't do it until you believe in yourself. And I really feel like the biggest thing for me going forward and throughout this process has been using that as what I base everything else I do on, and that this has to start with me. I started with hashtags connected to that, where I kind of shouted out the people that are in my life that mean the most to me, my wife and my son, Danielle and Aaron. And by using the hashtag for me first, and then for Danielle, and then for Aaron, and then for my family, that when I started this journey, that's what it was all about. And it was in that order on purpose, that if you're going to get healthy, or if you're going to do anything of value to better your life, that you have to care about you. You have to believe you're worth it, and you have to want to fight for you. And if you have an amazing group of people in your corner, if you have an amazing support system, that's going to help tremendously. But ultimately, you're the one that has to wake up in the morning. You're the one that goes to bed at night with all the thoughts in your head. And if you're not fighting for you and you're doing it for someone else only, or you're not as motivated as you want to be because it's not really your goal, it's more somebody else's, and you're just trying to live up to them, it's not going to work. It could work in the short term, but it'll never work in the long term. And that's something that I really believe in, is that you have to believe in you first. And going forward, if you learn nothing else from this episode or from other videos I post on this, or if you don't gain anything else from this experience, then that one thing, that's okay with me, because to me that's the most important thing, is that you can't do it until you believe in yourself. And so that's really what this is all about. And for me, what that really meant was I needed to get healthy. To give you a little background on me, I have always been a heavy kid. I was always athletic, and I was always active, and so the way I ate and the weight that I'd gain over the years, it was, you know, hurting me, but not to the extent that it's hurt me as an adult, because I was so active. I played every break and lunch of my life, basically during school. Hardly ever just sat around. And then, once I hit fourth grade, I started being able to do more team sports, and be able to work with other kids with football, basketball, baseball, whatever I could. In high school, I did football and track, did a little basketball. In college, I played football. So all through my childhood, all the way up through into early adulthood, sports was a huge part of my life, and the activity of sports was a huge part of my life. And being able to compete at the highest level I could was a big part of my life. And with that said, I never ate healthy ever in that process, which is probably one of the only regrets I have of that time in my life, was that, had I been healthier, and had a diet that made more sense for what I was trying to do, I might have been even better than what I was. But going to the point of what this is all about, is that this video is designed to not only teach you about me and my journey, but also try to hope that you can find some connections to it. So the focus for this episode, and for most future episodes, is just going to be on my diet, exercise, and health, and how I'm getting there, and what I'm doing about it. And so, I was 21 years old, and when I pretty much stopped playing sports altogether. And when I stopped playing sports altogether, what ended up happening is that I just stopped being active, and that led to a huge gain in weight. It felt like at the time that I went from about 225, which was my end kind of playing weight, 215, 225, somewhere in there, was kind of where I was my whole college career. And it seemed like I went to bed one night and woke up 250. And for the most part, that was what I weighed or more for the majority of my adult life, from 21 till about, I don't know, say 28, 29 years old. I was anywhere from 250 to 280. My first major diet was when I was 280, and I had got a teaching job, and the classroom was on the second floor. And taking the flight of stairs every day was tiring, to go one flight of stairs, and at 280 pounds. And I was like, this is, I can't do this anymore. At the time, my brother-in-law worked for 24 Hour Fitness, and so he introduced me to a thing that they were selling at the time called the Body Bug, which was just, at that time, was just a fancy pedometer, but it connected with a program that allowed you to write down, or not write down, to type in what your food intake was on top of however many calories you were burning. But by wearing the Body Bug all the time, you could kind of gauge how many calories you burned over a 24-hour period, instead of just simply, whatever elliptical machine or something might say, and just go off of that for guessing how many calories you burned during the day. One huge thing I learned from that was that basically, for the most part, over a 24-hour period, I basically burn about 2,200 calories. That's what my body can burn, kind of without doing much. So the other thing I learned was that for the most part, every 500 calories or so that you burn more than you eat, you lose about a pound a week. So my initial diet at that time, when I was 280 trying to lose weight, was to burn 3,500 calories and eat 2,500. And then hopefully, if I had that 1,000 deficit, that would mean I'd lose about 2 pounds a week. And for the most part, that's exactly what happened. I wasn't necessarily eating healthy. I was eating much healthier, but I was just eating a lot less calories. So I'd have some unhealthy things, but I'd have one serving of it instead of, half a bag of whatever I was eating. And so while I didn't necessarily eat that much better, by just watching my calories in the first place, I was limiting the amount of food I was eating. And then by only eating 2,500 calories a day and working out a lot, I ended up having that deficit quite often. And so I went from about 280 to about 235, I think. And right about that time, I don't want to get too personal here, but right about that time, I was single, and I had a relationship that was pretty serious, and we had broke up. So I was dealing with some emotions around that. And so I got to 235, and I was like, well, I'm still single and I'm still miserable. So why was I doing this? And I completely kind of sabotaged what I had worked so hard for, in just that one little thought, that kind of thought bubble that turned into me just not working out as often, and me just not eating as well. And I didn't necessarily change my diet, but I stopped counting my calories, so I'd have more servings of something than I should have. And so that combination really just kind of sabotaged that whole thing. And then over the next couple of years, I gained all that weight back and then some. And in that process, I actually found someone that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, and in Danielle. And so we got married, and about 3 years into the marriage, I was weighing 315 pounds. And so I was heavier than I'd ever been in my life. And the two of us kind of sat down and said, look, we want to have a family. We want to be able to, hopefully have some kids. And if we do, we have to lose weight. And for me, it was a really, really poignant moment in my life. It was June 28th, 2013. So, when you remember the date of something, you know how much of an impact it had on you. And so we both got a trainer, and we started going to the gym, consistently. We started working out meal plans, and where we were focusing on a low carb and a lean protein diet. And that was the best thing we had done together, obviously, but it was the best diet I'd ever been on because it was a legit diet. It was actually trying to use food for fuel, use food for nutrients, use food for energy instead of just, you know, trying to limit the number of delicious foods I ate. And with that came much better sleep, much better energy, much better strength. Everything was kind of coming together. I had actually started training for a half marathon, which if anyone knew me at all when I played football, I was a fast twitch muscle guy. I was not a slow twitch muscle guy at all. I did not like to run any kind of distance. I hated working out that way. I hated any kind of cardio. I was only a guy who just wanted to get stronger and get faster. And I never wanted to run more than 100 meters. And so to even think I could cross a finish line 13 miles away was ridiculous. But I also looked at it like, well, if I'm trying to lose weight and I'm trying to get healthier, why not do this? What's the harm if I train for it and then decide not to run it? All those miles that I put in will still be a benefit. So I kind of looked at it as like, what do I have to lose? And then in the meantime, I started, jogging multiple miles in a row. I mean, first day on the treadmill, I couldn't even jog 2 laps in a row. And by the end of my training, I was doing 6.5 miles on a track. And, my pace was like 14 minutes, 15 minutes. But the point is that I could run to that distance without stopping. And so on race day, I crossed the finish line at 13 miles. And, I had a hard time doing it, but I ran 13.1 miles in one day. And the idea that I could do that was just unfathomable to me before that. So it really helped me with just what the possibilities were and what I could do. And just, it was unbelievable that I could do something that I didn't think was possible. And it really made me think, well, what else is possible? And when that happened, that kind of led to not only me being in the best shape of my life, but also my wife. And that's where Aaron came along. And, we have the happiest, healthiest boy we've ever known, who's 3 years old now. And when my wife was about 8 months pregnant was when I stopped working out again. We had set a goal to get healthy for him, so that we could start trying to have him. And so when my wife couldn't work out anymore, I used it as an excuse to not work out either. And once the baby was born, once Aaron was born, then it was, oh, I'm too tired, I just want to spend more time with him, or I want to make sure Danielle's okay, so I don't want to leave the house. I mean, some of the excuses weren't there's nothing wrong with those things or doing those things, but I could have made time for the gym and I chose not to. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that we make choices in life, and with those choices come, the results of those choices. And sometimes those are consequences that we have to live with, and sometimes those are wonderful things. And so I was making a choice not to go to the gym. I was making choices not to eat the way I should. And so now we were sitting there with a 3-year-old, and I was 320 pounds. So everything I had done the first 2 times were long gone, and I was heavier than I'd ever been. And this is after, feeling like I needed to lose weight at 280 pounds. This was after feeling like I needed to lose weight at 315 pounds. And now I'm 320. So it came down to, what do I really want for my life? And ultimately, what do I really want for, my son and my wife? What kind of example am I as a husband and a father if I'm doing things that I'm not proud of, and I'm treating my body, terribly, really? And so what it really came down to was, this has to be for me. I have to develop that consistency in my own mindset that I'm worth keeping healthy. I'm worth making the most of my life, and knowing that especially after the time I went from 315 to what ended up being about 230 when I was running the half marathon, which was, I was sleeping better, I was feeling better, I had more energy, all these wonderful things, and I lost them all. by gaining the weight back. So why am I doing that to myself? What is it about gaining that weight and saying, oh, you know what, forget it, I'm just going to eat what I want? Why is that more important than my health? And ultimately, what it really came down to was, if I want my son to be healthy, I have to show him what that looks like. I cannot tell him to eat his vegetables and not have any on my plate. And that is not the only reason I'm doing this. It's not the number one reason I'm doing this, because the number one reason has to be for me. But that one's right up there, man, because if I can set the right example for him, he's got the best chance of being healthy himself. If I want to run around with him and I can't because of my weight, that's going to break my heart. If we have another child, and in having that other child, they end up having problems with their ability to be healthy because I was unhealthy when we had the other baby, what is that going to do to me psychologically? So there's so many other elements going on there, but ultimately what it comes down to is that if I live my best life, I give my children the best chance to live theirs. I give my wife the best chance to live hers. So on July 27th, 2018, I was 320 pounds, and I joined a gym again. We had moved to LA, so now I'm at a gym here. And for the last 200 days, this is day 200, I've gone to work out 196 of those days. And because of that, my last weigh-in was January 15th. I weighed 277 pounds. My next weigh-in is going to be tomorrow. So everyone can, look forward to that. And I'll be able to share where I'm at then. I should be in the 260s, I think. And with that, it's going to be the last time that I ever gain weight. That I'm not going to gain weight anymore. I just can't. Now, if I lose weight to the point where I get back to where I was in my playing weight, 215, 210, now I can show Aaron that look what I can do. I can run a half marathon when I put my mind to it. I can lose weight when I put my mind to it. What else can I do? And if I can do anything, so can you. So that's what it all is about. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me. 18-minute video is not something everyone tends to click on. So if you were part of any of this or heard any of this, thank you. And until next time, stay healthy, make those positive excuses. Make those positive excuses to do things. Make a positive excuse in your life. Make an excuse to go to the gym. Make an excuse to get healthy. Make an excuse to do the right things, okay? And forever and always, peace and love to my boy Dre, Coach, Mr. White, Kim, everybody else that's been out there that's been rocking with me since day one and been supporting me on Twitter and Instagram. So remember, at Can't Until on Instagram, at Can't Until on Twitter, and now you can check me out at Can't Until on YouTube. Peace.